Welcome back to Galaxy Recaps. Today we'll be diving into an action thriller film titled Carry On. Enjoy the recap. The film opens with a mysterious man dressed in black, known only as the Traveler, stepping into a building. He calmly places his gun aside and approaches a florist to purchase a plant. However, the dealer informs him that the price has doubled for that particular item. Just as tensions rise, the dealer suddenly begins to cough violently, blood seeping from his mouth before collapsing and dying. The Traveler, unfazed, eliminates the dealer's partner without hesitation and sets the building ablaze before leaving with a package. The scene shifts to Ethan Kopech waking up next to his partner Nora as they prepare for their day. Ethan chats with Nora, expressing his deep love for Christmas. It's revealed that Ethan has been working as a TSA agent at LAX for the past 3 years, though his career has been far from extraordinary. Nora, on the other hand, holds a managerial role at the airport, and Ethan's affection for her is undeniable. As they head out, Nora encourages Ethan to reconsider applying to become a police officer, a lifelong dream of his, despite his previous failed attempt. During their bus ride to work, Nora surprises Ethan with the news that they are expecting a baby. She playfully reminds him how she rejected him multiple times before agreeing to date him, urging him not to give up so easily on his dreams. Upon arriving at LAX, the couple part ways for their respective jobs. As Ethan hurries through the terminal, he is accidentally bumped by a stranger, visibly irritating him. Rushing to his post, Ethan once again arrives late, drawing the ire of his superior. Officer Williams briefs the TSA team about a new directive from Homeland Security. Smart pens capable of detecting fake boarding passes are to be distributed, and all suspicious activity must be reported to Senior Officer Leo. Later, Ethan's friend advises him to take his responsibilities more seriously, especially with a child on the way. Motivated, Ethan approaches his supervisor to request a promotion. However, his persistent tardiness leads to a swift rejection. Determined, Ethan boldly argues his case, asserting that he can outperform anyone at spotting fake passes, especially Officer Leo. Seeing his confidence, Ethan's friend steps aside, offering him a chance to prove himself at the scanning machine. Meanwhile, outside the airport, a white van pulls up. Inside, a bound man sits helpless as another figure, known as Watcher, hacks into the airport's security systems, disabling cameras and other surveillance tools. At her post, Nora receives a flirty message from Ethan, sparking her curiosity. She heads off to meet him. Simultaneously, Ethan begins working at the machine, meticulously scanning each item, eager to prove his worth. Back outside, the Traveler, who had bumped into Ethan earlier, contacts Watcher, seeking updates. However, the plan hits a snag. Ethan, not his friend Jason, is manning the scanning station, disrupting what was supposed to be a carefully orchestrated infiltration. The Watcher begins digging into Ethan Kopech's background, searching for vulnerabilities to exploit. It doesn't take long for him to track down Ethan's home address, discovering he has a pregnant partner. Meanwhile, at the airport, a customer approaches Ethan at his post, claiming that a package found in the P section isn't hers. She hands it over, revealing a single AirPod inside. Ethan casually heads toward the lost and found to place it there. As soon as he does, a notification pings on his phone. The message urges him to put the AirPod in his ear. Confused but curious, Ethan complies, only to hear a calm yet chilling voice deliver a dire threat. The voice warns that if he doesn't let a specific bag pass through security without raising any alarms, his partner will die. Initially, Ethan believes this is some elaborate prank or a test from Eddie, his superior, to assess his readiness for promotion. However, the voice swiftly dismisses the idea, revealing that Eddie is standing just nearby, and this is far from a joke. The Traveler takes over the line, calmly issuing instructions. Ethan is told to allow a man in a red cap en route to Northwind Flight 1850 to pass through security without inspection. When Ethan nervously asks what's in the man's bag, the Traveler coldly responds, "It's none of his concern." The tension escalates as the Traveler lists details about Ethan's personal life, his friends, Nora's exact address, and even the fact that Jason, his co-worker, recently had twins. Ethan's heart sinks. This isn't a bluff. Desperation kicks in, and Ethan discreetly attempts to call 911, hoping to alert authorities. But the Watcher intercepts the call and immediately notifies the Traveler. Without missing a beat, the Traveler explains that snipers have rifles aimed directly at Nora. If Ethan disobeys or makes any wrong moves, they will pull the trigger. Panicked, Ethan ends the call and locks his phone in a drawer, his trembling hands betraying his fear. The instructions remain simple: let the bag pass. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Detective Elena, who arrives at a Christmas tree shop to investigate the earlier murder of the florist dealers. As she combs through the crime scene, she discovers a watch. Upon opening it, Elena realizes the watch contains an ATF bug, an advanced surveillance device used by firearms and explosives agents to monitor criminal activity. The dead dealer must have been under investigation at the time of his death. Back at the airport, the atmosphere is hectic as passengers rush to catch their flights. Ethan, overwhelmed and sweating, attempts to discreetly send an SOS message through his smartwatch. But once again, the watcher notices, thwarting his efforts and keeping him tightly under surveillance. Ethan is forced to set the AirPod aside, but the traveler's patience is wearing thin. Furious, he escalates his threats, rattling off even more personal details about Ethan's life, details Ethan can't fathom how the traveler obtained. The unsettling realization leaves Ethan shaken and searching for answers. Meanwhile, Detective Elena visits a colleague to analyze the damaged ATF surveillance chip recovered from the crime scene. Although the chip is heavily degraded, the officer manages to extract fragments of audio, potentially providing a lead. Back at the airport, the traveler finally breaks his silence, revealing that he isn't part of any organization, he's just a freelancer. His job is simple: complete assignments for clients without asking questions. Ethan subtly observes the traveler, who casually takes a seat nearby, exuding calm confidence. Determined to act, Ethan powers down the scanner and discreetly asks a passing passenger for their boarding pass. He hastily scribbles down information about the traveler's appearance and identity, slipping the note to Officer Leo under the guise of routine procedure. Leo's eyes widen as he reads the note, instantly understanding the severity of the situation. Without hesitation, Leo moves to call for backup, but the traveler, always one step ahead, senses something amiss. Before Leo can alert anyone, the traveler stealthily injects him with a syringe containing a potent, fast-acting agent. Moments later, Leo collapses, succumbing to what appears to be a fatal heart attack. Now face to face with Ethan, the traveler makes his warning crystal clear. Any deviation from the plan will result in Nora's death. His message is simple: let the bag through and no one gets hurt. Returning to his post, Ethan is blindsided when his superior unexpectedly reassigns him to the metal detector area, disrupting the traveler's carefully orchestrated scheme. The traveler wastes no time reminding Ethan of the stakes. Failing to return to his designated post will have deadly consequences. Thinking quickly, Ethan devises a desperate plan. He sneaks into a nearby airport store, pilfering a small bottle of alcohol. In a secluded office, Ethan mixes the liquor with a cup of coffee. Once prepared, he discreetly swaps the doctored drink with Jason's. Shortly after, Jason's supervisor catches the scent of alcohol and, without hesitation, fires him on the spot. As Jason gathers his things, he shoots Ethan an eye-knowing look, silently acknowledging the switch. With Jason gone, Ethan returns to his position. Despite the weight of the threat hanging over him, he reluctantly lets the suspicious bag pass through the scanner. No alarms raised. Officer Elena continues to painstakingly analyze the fragmented audio from the damaged ATF chip. As she pieces it together, a chilling realization dawns. It's the sound of a deadly neurotoxic chemical, notorious for its use in Russian chemical warfare. Alarmed, Elena wastes no time contacting Homeland Security. Meanwhile, at the airport, Ethan watches as the suspicious bag clears security. He hands the boarding pass back to the traveler's associate, known as Mateo. The weight of his actions hits hard, and Ethan rushes to the restroom, overcome with guilt and nausea. Soon after, the traveler casually confronts Ethan, revealing the true danger behind the contents of the bag. The chemical, called NAC, is so lethal that even a trace amount could cause someone to drown in their own blood. Elsewhere, Agent John from Homeland Security arrives to review Elena's findings. However, her captain and John remain skeptical. Without concrete evidence, they can't justify declaring martial law based on what they consider a soft lead. Tensions spike when a colleague bursts into the room, revealing that a 911 call was made from within LAX, traced back to Ethan Kopek's station. Later, Ethan reconnects with Nora. She senses something is wrong and presses him for answers. Ethan, reluctant to reveal the truth, instead tells her he's been promoted. Nora, however, isn't thrilled. She knows him well enough to realize the promotion won't bring him the fulfillment he's searching for. Meanwhile, Elena and her team finalize their investigation. Police units swarm the Northwind terminal, conducting security checks and heightening the already tense atmosphere. Ethan's superior briefs the TSA crew, informing them that officers will randomly screen 50 passengers as a precaution. Desperate, Ethan secretly accesses the scanner logs, using his superior's credentials to manually flag Mateo, the traveler's associate, for inspection. Once the terminal clears, Jason confronts Ethan. He's pieced everything together and knows Ethan was behind his sudden firing. Jason warns Ethan to stay away, cutting ties with him. Soon after, a public announcement echoes through the airport, instructing Matt to report to security. From a distance, the traveler immediately senses Ethan's involvement. Furious, he silently prepares to retaliate. Ethan's fear escalates. Overwhelmed, he races to find Nora, desperate to protect her. Meanwhile, the Watcher drives to a secluded location, loading his weapon. As Ethan reaches Nora, a red laser sight traces across her forehead. A sniper has her in his crosshairs. Nora confronts Ethan, demanding to know if he was responsible for Jason's firing. Before Ethan can respond, the Traveler's voice cuts in, warning that any sudden moves will cost Nora her life. Ethan backs away, powerless. Moments later, the Traveler ambushes Ethan in the restroom, unleashing a brutal attack. A fierce fight breaks out, with Ethan struggling to defend himself. In the chaos, Ethan seizes a gun, flipping the tables. He aims it at the Traveler, demanding he call off the sniper. But instead of relenting, the Traveler smirks and activates a countdown timer, revealing that a deadly device is set to detonate in just 10 minutes. Ethan bolts, racing against time to prevent the explosion. He tracks the location of the device, arriving to find his superior held at knife point by Mateo. The Traveler urges Ethan to kill his supervisor to stop the detonation. Ethan hesitates, the weight of the choice paralyzing him. Before Ethan can react, Mateo strikes, stabbing the supervisor with a pen and ending his life. Mateo, barely able to stand, confesses to Ethan that he's just another pawn in the Traveler's twisted scheme. His partner has been taken hostage, forcing him to follow orders without question. Despite the tension, Mateo and Ethan manage to work together with the Traveler's guidance to defuse the deadly device. Meanwhile, Elena and Agent John race toward the airport. On the way, Elena receives a call from her colleague who informs her that LAX has flagged several high-profile individuals, including 4 Marines. However, the conversation takes a dark turn when Elena realizes something unsettling. The agent sitting beside her isn't Agent John at all. Confronting the imposter, Elena's instincts prove right as a brutal fight breaks out inside the moving vehicle. In the chaos, their car crashes. Elena, bloodied but alive, manages to eliminate the fake agent. Without wasting time, she commandeers a passing vehicle and speeds toward the airport. Back at LAX, Ethan and Mateo struggle to dispose of their superior's body. The Traveler seizes the opportunity, coldly ordering Mateo to kill Ethan. Torn but with no choice, Mateo begins to comply, until Ethan spots the betrayal. A violent fight erupts between the two. In the struggle, Mateo accidentally shoots himself. As Mateo lies on the ground clutching his wound, he apologizes for his actions before succumbing to his injuries. Ethan, shaken but determined, grabs Mateo's phone and frantically tries to call Nora. She doesn't answer. Desperate, he texts a trusted colleague, warning them that Nora is in grave danger. Moments later, the Traveler confronts Ethan directly, demanding the return of the bag. Ethan refuses and bolts, knowing he's now the last line of defense. At the airport, Elena arrives and urgently begins asking for Ethan's whereabouts. Meanwhile, one of Ethan's friends intercepts Nora, showing her the text about the sniper and urging her to watch for a suspicious van. As if on cue, the Watcher appears, locking eyes with Nora. He begins to approach. Ethan's colleague tries to intervene, but the Watcher dispatches him effortlessly, continuing his advance toward Nora. Simultaneously, the Traveler maneuvers through the terminal, inching closer to his goal. In the parking lot, the Watcher pursues Nora relentlessly. Thinking quickly, she devises a clever trap, causing the Watcher to crash his vehicle. Taking advantage of the moment, Nora slips away and hides. Elena stumbles upon the lifeless body of one of Ethan's colleagues. Before she can process the scene, Ethan emerges, desperate to explain everything. But Elena isn't in the mood to listen. She draws her weapon and orders his arrest. Ethan, driven by urgency, knocks the gun from her hand and escapes. As he flees, he yells crucial details about the Traveler, hoping Elena will piece the puzzle together. Meanwhile, Nora's fight for survival continues. She ambushes the Watcher in a desperate attempt to break free. Just as she escapes his grasp, Ethan finally finds her. For a fleeting moment, relief washes over them, and they embrace, completely unaware of the danger that still lurks nearby. As Ethan and Nora embraced, the Watcher appeared once again, ready to strike. Before he could act, Jesse, one of Ethan's colleagues, arrived and shot the Watcher, saving both Ethan and Nora. Grateful but shaken, the couple approached Jesse, but the danger wasn't over. In a twist, the Traveler wasn't heading to New York as originally believed. Instead, he had 2 plane tickets for a direct flight to Washington, D.C. A mysterious woman, the same one who handed Ethan the AirPod earlier, delivered a bag and the plane tickets to the Traveler at the terminal. Meanwhile, Jesse was rushed to the hospital, and Nora hurried back inside the airport to locate Elena. On board the flight, the Traveler encountered a setback. His luggage couldn't fit into the overhead bin. A flight attendant insisted on placing it in the cargo hold, unknowingly ensuring it would be scanned. Back at the airport, Ethan and Nora pieced together which flight the Traveler was on. Ethan realized that the only way to avert disaster was to let the plane take off. Meanwhile, Elena received an urgent call from her colleague, who uncovered the traveler's true objective. His target was not just the airport or random civilians, it was a congresswoman on board the flight, known for championing legislation that could severely impact weapons manufacturers. The attack was designed to eliminate her and manipulate public perception to benefit powerful interests. Laura tracked down Detective Elena and relayed the information, hoping to prevent the looming catastrophe. Determined to act, Ethan snuck into the cargo hold just as the plane prepared for takeoff. There he located the traveler's luggage and began to disarm the device. However, the traveler discovered him, gun in hand. The two faced off in the confined space. The traveler ordered Ethan to drop the bag, but Ethan refused. In response, the traveler shot him. Wounded but undeterred, Ethan lunged for the weapon, overpowering the traveler. Seizing the upper hand, Ethan shoved him into a refrigeration unit used for transporting chemicals. Inside, the traveler was trapped alongside his own deadly toxin. Despite his efforts, the freezing temperatures took hold, and he succumbed to the cold, dying before the plane could land. When the flight touched down, police and federal agents swarmed the scene, securing the cargo hold and retrieving the traveler's body. Ethan, though injured, was escorted off the plane. Detective Elena, impressed by Ethan's courage and quick thinking, offered him the opportunity to join the police force. A year later, Ethan's life had taken a turn for the better. He was happily settled with Nora, raising their child together. The lingering tension between him and Jason eventually faded, and the two reconciled. The film concludes with Ethan finding fulfillment and peace, his journey from reluctant hero to protector finally complete. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.